All right, mock draft round two. So I did a 1 round mock draft, and then I said, you know what? Let's just do a second round. Why not? So I haven't really prepared for this whatsoever. I haven't read too many second round mock drafts. I tend to pay more attention to the first round, but I figured, hey, this could be fun. And so I'm going to go in blind and we'll see how this works. So just to refresh you all on how the first round went, Aiden Hutchinson, Ahmad Gardner, Kayvon Thibodeau, Derek Stingley, Akeem Ekwanyu, Malik Willis, Charles Cross, George Karlaftis, Matt Corral, and Jamison Williams made up the top 10. Went with Devin Lloyd for Washington, and then Evan Neal fell all the way to 12. Devontae Wyatt at 13. Kair Alam was a reach at 14, but I don't care. I like him. And again, you might see some weird stuff here. Listen, this is not your consensus mock draft. This is me. I don't follow consensus. If you watched me last year, you're well aware of that. Drake London at 15, Bernard Raymond at 16, Trent McDuffie 17, Nakobe Dean at 18, Garrett Wilson 19, Kenny Pickett at 20, Jordan Davis 21, just because there was not really anyone else I loved for New England there, if I remember correctly. Chris Olave at 22, Tyler Linderbaum 23, Zion Johnson 24, Sky Moore to the Bills, Arnold Ebiketie to the Titans, Travis Jones, again, a bit of a reach to Tampa Bay, but I just, the idea of Travis Jones next to Vita Vea, that's too much to pass up. Trevor Penning at 28, Andrew Booth 29, Trayvon Walker, the guy who I'm much lower on, but still gave him a first round pick here with the Chiefs at 30, Darian Kennard at 31, and finally, Desmond Ridder here at number 32. That is round one. So, all right, let's start off, obviously, with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's just go back and remember. So, again, they got Aiden Hutchinson in round one. Where do they want to go here with number 33? I'm sure a lot of people are surprised by a couple of guys still on this list. Yes, there still is Jermaine Johnson. Yes, there still is Kyle Hamilton. I'm still not sure I want to go either of those two guys just yet. I might, but I just want to think about it because, going over to wide receivers here, I think that there's some quality wide receivers that they could still get. Now, here's what's weird is like, so what do I do here? Because I'm trying to pretend like I'm actually in their shoes. So this would mean that I'm a huge fan of Alec Pierce, but I probably shouldn't draft Alec Pierce this high up, right? Because he's probably going to fall to another round. So maybe I should, wait. I think that would probably be a reach here. So let's try to maximize the value with pick 33. And what is the best way to maximize this value? I mean, again, I could go someone like Treylon Burks and then still get Alec Pierce, but I don't think that's the smartest move. Or I could just go with someone who would help out their team, like a Lewis Sign. Still don't know how to say that. I'm never gonna learn. I don't think at this point it's I'm too far gone. But give me him at this spot. I know a lot of people are going to say, how could you not have Kyle Hamilton in this spot? Because I don't think he's as good as other people do. That's why. That's pretty simple. Okay, moving on to the Lions here now. 34th overall pick. Several ways I could go with this one. I think what I'm going to do, and again, people are going to really not like some of these picks. I already know. The first round was controversial enough. Second round is going to be even more controversial with some of these players that people are, I'm sure, are big fans of, still not getting drafted just yet. I'm going to go David Ajabo here. He's someone who he is a bit of a projection, right? But I think there's reasons to kind of explain why he didn't have as much, as much performance. Or what am I trying to look for? As much production as he did in college, and he still had solid production. It's not like some of these other guys. So I like him here. I think that he's a quality player, so that's why I'm drafting him at this spot. We can look over now to the Jets. So the Jets, again, going to have to keep going back and looking at who they got. Derek Stingley and Jamison Williams with their first two picks. So they have a corner now. They have a wide receiver. Where else could the Jets go? And that's where things get a little interesting. I know that they love pass rush. Is there a pass rusher that's still like quality enough for them to want to draft here, or just a defensive lineman in general that they really like here? Drake Jackson and Cameron Thomas are two guys I'm big fans of, and I know they love pass rush, just what they value. So I'm also kind of trying to put myself in I know what defense these guys run and everything like that. So maybe I just go with someone who I have a pretty high not a high first round grade on, but like top 25 grade on. I'll go with Cameron Thomas. Again, I know people are going to say this is a bit of a reach, but he can, he is versatile. He can get pressure. They value pressure. That scheme pressure matters a lot with that scheme. So there you go. I'm going to go with a guy who I'm a big fan of, Cameron Thomas here. Now with the uh, Giants, another team with multiple top 10 picks in the first round, they doubled down on offensive linemen. So could have them go a line again just to be safe. Don't think I'll do that. What else could they use here? And you know what? Do I end the slide with Kyle Hamilton here? Sure, I'll end the slide with Kyle Hamilton. They have plenty of positions of need. Kyle Hamilton, safety might not be their biggest position of need, but, if he does work out, this is a great value pick at number 36. So that's why I'm doing it. Number 37, the Houston Texans, where Thibodeau was drafted number 3 because, again, Sauce Gardner was drafted number 2, and then Devontae Wyatt was drafted 13. So they're shoring up that defensive line a little bit. They still haven't gone quarterback here, so that's probably the move, is for them to go quarterback, and the guy to probably select would be, in my opinion, Sam Howell. I think he is my quarterback 5 here. Get a quarterback. You don't want to just solely rely on Davis Mills, and good value here in the second round. Kind of worth it. If you can get one of those top 5 guys in round 2, I'm pretty much always going to be a fan of it. So we're back with the Jets, who went pass rusher with their last pick. What do they do here? 38. Could they go back to the wide receiver? Well, they don't desperately need another 2 wide receivers. They definitely need 1, but that's still an option you have on the table. What are some other options on the table? They could really try to shore up the defensive line, getting a guy like Logan Hall, for example. I think I'm actually, I might take a bit of reach here, in my opinion, with Leo Chenal, even though this is actually fair value the way most people see it. I'm not as crazy about him. I'm just not, but I think they could use a linebacker. That's their biggest position of need right here. So I'll draft him here and maybe hope that everyone else is right about him more so than, how I feel. The Bears have had a tough offseason, I think. They've lost a lot, haven't gained a ton, in my opinion. They have a lot of, areas where they need to help out Justin Fields is what they need to do. That's my first thing. It's like, listen, Justin Fields, the way that they've, this poor guy comes in and they're just like not giving him anything. So the first 2 things I'm thinking about is offensive line, any offensive linemen, or wide receivers. That's where I'm paying attention to. Top guys, a couple guys I'm not a huge fan of. Burks, Green, Dotson. I'm just not huge fans of those guys. George Pickens is my favorite of this list. I'm going to draft George Pickens here. Or do I draft, again, Alec Pierce is a little bit further down. So do I wait on him a little bit, or do I just draft? I think I'm going to draft George Pickens now, and then, hopefully I'll get Alec Pierce later on, although of course I won't, because I know that I'm a bigger fan of him, but that's kind of where things get a little bit weird in this mock draft. But anyways, that's what I'm doing. Seahawks have multiple top 41 picks, so back-to-back picks is what I'm trying to say. And where do they go? First thing, I know how much, part of me wants to just go with Logan Hall, who I'm a huge fan of. He's really underrated. The funny thing is, like, I don't know if they need an interior defensive lineman. Maybe they'll try to push him out the edge. I don't know if I love this fit, but I know how much they value pressure, right? And they value just defensive linemen in general. So that's kind of why I'm interested in a Logan Hall selection here, and why I'm maybe going to do that. I guess the other options are, again, there's no real quarterbacks left available. Although, if I remember correctly, going back now, they drafted Matt Corral number 9. So offensive line's kind of the other area they could go. That's kind of the one other thing I could see them doing. But I think I'm just going to go with Logan Hall. They like defensive linemen. That's where I'm going here. Now, they have another pick. So what do we do with this second pick? Again, they already have safeties. Like Jaquan Brisker might make some sense, but they don't need another safety. So I don't really think that's the smartest decision here. Now, Drake Jackson's good. Do I double down on defensive linemen? Maybe I should have drafted Drake Jackson earlier, now that I think about it. But give me Drake Jackson here as well. Seattle really working on that defensive line now, which they care a lot about. Again, that scheme needs pressure. So that's why I think it makes some sense. Indianapolis here, number 42, Indianapolis. Let's go wide receiver. They could use a wide receiver. That's kind of one of their biggest positions of need. Let's end the slide for me with Alec Pierce, because I don't keep saying maybe they could go there. I think Pierce is good. I think he's a really good player. I really liked what I saw from him in Cincinnati. So I'm totally on that bandwagon. Give me Alec Pierce, 42. 43, the Atlanta Falcons, who at number 8 drafted George Karlaftis. So got a pass rusher, which they do need, and I think he's probably the best pass rusher on the board. So getting him, that there's a lot of value there. Now, what do they do from this point? Do they go offensive line? There's quite frankly several areas of need here for Atlanta. I think there's a couple of ways I could go about this. I could just quite frankly, I mean, okay, I could just go with one of these guys that other people are higher on than I am. Like one of these guys that's higher up on this list. I don't really want to do that. One guy who I'm really interested in is going to be someone who's a little bit lower on this list. Again, and a guy who's not even in the second round, according to PFF, but John Mechie, the third out of Alabama, I really like. I think that there's a lot of really good stuff with him, and they could use a wide receiver. So I'm always a fan of getting wide receivers at this spot in the draft. That's really interesting. Him or Christian Watson are both fascinating for me. Watson's the kind of guy where, again, you can see why there's some sort of DK Metcalf comparisons there. I have Mechie higher up on my board, so I'll draft him. Again, we're getting to it. This is not the way the second round is going to go whatsoever, but this is how I do it. Number 44, the Cleveland Browns. Do they with this pick end up getting kind of the Jadeveon Clowney replacement? That might make some sense. I think that there's some logic here, but which edge is really the kind of the guy that I am highest on that's still available? Again, I like Mafe. I'm not crazy about him. Benito's kind of one of those weird guys where I just don't know how much of his pressures like would work at the NFL level. I just don't know. Majai Sanders is the guy who I have the highest grade on, so Sanders might be an option. Let's see if there's any interior defensive lineman that maybe could be the guy instead. Nero Farrell Jr. I like a lot as well, but I guess again. Give me the guy who when I watched the tape, I thought was the best player. Give me Sanders. That's what I saw. Let's move on. 45, the Baltimore Ravens, who the Ravens did end up selecting. Who was it again? Right. I think they got, all right, Khair Alam. So they have a corner now. Could also get defensive linemen. So this is kind of interesting, is that how many guys at this point in the draft want defensive linemen? You know what? Give me Nick Benito, because my biggest issue with him has consistently been, well, he won in so many non-traditional ways. But the Ravens will use guys in non-traditional ways. Now, no more Wink Martindale, so maybe that's not going to change. Maybe that won't work anymore, so maybe that's a bad pick if that is the case. But they've been a team that's constantly said, what are you good at? We'll figure out a way to make it work. I trust them to figure that out, even if he's not maybe my favorite player still available. He's someone who I like and is available. So the Minnesota Vikings, they can go several ways as well. Who did they get in the first round? They got Evan Neal, the tackle, which maybe wasn't the biggest position of need, but he was their biggest, it was just he fell that far in my draft. So they said, yes, thank you very much. We will take him. So now what do we need? They could use a corner. So let's just do that. Let's look at their needs and just kind of throw them up there and see what happens. So corner, they could use any interior offensive lineman. That's definitely something that they could go with. And also edge is another position of need. So with this, again, Jermaine Johnson, I'm just not that high on Jermaine Johnson. I'm not. I didn't think he was as good as other people thought he was. So I don't know if I love that selection. Same thing about Kenyon Green, who a lot of people like. Boye Mafe, who a lot of people like. I wasn't as high on. But at the end of the day, we are getting to the mid-second round. Maybe I just have to get someone who I'm not as high on as other people are. I kind of think one of the ways I could go about this is, let's look at the corners available. Kyler Gordon is a guy who I like, so I'm going to draft him. I think he would, again, I don't know. I guess I don't know what scheme the Vikings are going to run either. You never know when it's a new coordinator, even when, they've done stuff in the past. You just never know. But I think he certainly would fit a zone scheme well, which I would assume that they would probably want to do. So I'm going to go there. Washington drafted Devin Lloyd with the 11th overall pick. I think maybe they were hoping one of those quarterbacks would fall to them later on. That didn't exactly happen. Is there a quarterback they could still select? I like Bailey Zappi a decent amount. I wouldn't hate that selection. I really wouldn't. There's other ways they could go. They have, it's weird because I feel like their secondary was like solid. It has like okay players, but they could probably use another guy. So that's just where, again, things get weird here. I almost want to just take Jermaine Johnson at this point. They don't need Jermaine Johnson, but he could be valuable here. He could be worth the pick. Or do I go with just another wide receiver? Again, wide receivers are going to draft a lot of them here in round 2 and 3 because I'm a big fan of drafting guys in rounds 2 and 3. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll draft Christian Watson here, largely because, like, again, the potential is there. Draft a guy who has great potential. And I'm going to kind of do the same thing with Jermaine Johnson with the Bears here at 48. Again, they would love if that happened. That's not going to happen. He's going earlier. He's more of a developmental guy, in my opinion, but there is the upside. So that's kind of why I had him a little bit lower, but why I still see the value in someone like him. The New Orleans Saints, who had 2 mid-first round picks, and they drafted Bernard Rainman and Garrett Wilson with those 2 picks. So their biggest positions of need are kind of good. Now, they again are a Bailey Zappi candidate, right? Because they could potentially use another quarterback, or they could just go with wide receiver here once again. Do we continue the wide receiver run? Draft Khalil Shakir, who is my next favorite wide receiver. I think yes, right? They could use another receiver, probably still their biggest position of need, even after drafting one in round 1. So that's what we're doing. The Chiefs, who had multiple late first round picks, drafted Andrew Booth and Trayvon Walker. So still need a wide receiver. They're probably upset about this wide receiver run that's happening because, again, if they see it the way I see it, there's not a ton of great wide receivers left. All the kind of guys that I was higher on are pretty much gone. I mean, Treylon Burks, I don't hate this value. I'll probably draft him still. They could use another wide receiver. I don't really know if I love that fit, to be honest. Kind of a tough fit, but we'll see. I mean, the ceiling for him is AJ Brown. I just feel like I don't know if he gets enough separation for me to really feel great about it. He's nowhere near the route runner AJ Brown is, but maybe he can learn that. He is fast for his size, so it would be interesting to see Mahomes with kind of a big body receiver. I'm not sure if we've seen that before, but that would be fun. Eagles here, 15 and 18. They got Drake London and Nakobe Dean. So where else do they want to go? They do love having like rotational defensive linemen. So I don't hate drafting Boye Mafe here. I think there's logic there. I actually think what I'm going to do is I am going to go safety. I'm going to go Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. I liked him. I thought he was kind of one of those guys constantly in position. They could probably use a safety. Again, I know there's been some Tyrann Mathieu suggestions. This would probably put an end to that. So again, maybe if you think you're going to get Matthew, maybe you don't make this, but they could use a safety. So, and getting a safety here tends to be pretty good value. So I typically like that. The Pittsburgh Steelers went out and they got Kenny Pickett with the 20th overall pick, which would be very fun if that happened. So since Kenny Pickett went 20th overall, they need to help out their team now, right? You hope that Kenny Pickett can be better than Roethlisberger was last year, but you still have some massive, areas of weakness that you need to get better at. So there's, again, several ways they could go with this. I wouldn't hate if they went with a corner. I wouldn't hate if they went with an offensive lineman here. But then the question becomes, which offensive lineman do you like the best? For me, I'd probably go Abraham Lucas if I have to go with a offensive lineman here. So maybe that's what I do. Abraham Lucas. Let's not overthink this. Let's get him. Green Bay Packers, who they're in an interesting spot as well, where the Green Bay Packers, Trevor Penning at 28 and then Chris Olave at 22. So they got their 2 biggest needs. Do they need another wide receiver? They could use one. Who are the other wide receivers available? I actually like Justin Ross all right. So I think I might have even had him higher than some other guys that I've already drafted. So that wouldn't be the end of the world. He could probably work with Rodgers. So let's just do that. Justin Ross goes off the board here. Now for the New England Patriots at 54. It's weird because on the second round, I feel it's way more common to draft for need, but it kind of gets guys who I like that are still available here. And then there's guys that I don't love as much, but I'm still drafting them earlier on than I kind of have the grade for. That's where things get weird, is just because I have you with the 40th overall player doesn't mean I think you're going to go 40th overall. That's where things get interesting. So New England drafted Jordan Davis, who was not a need whatsoever, but just kind of a fun thing. It'd be cool if they got him, but now they kind of need to go after some needs. So wide receiver is a need for them. Corner is a need for them. Where do we want to have them go here? I'll have them go Jalen Patir, it's a guy who other people are high on. Sure, we'll make that happen. If he's 30th on the list, I'll just do that, call it a day. 55, the Arizona Cardinals here, who they drafted center. They went after Tyler Linderbaum. So now they need to, help out the rest of the roster, right? And what do we do? They could use a Christian Kirk replacement, kind of realizing basically every team could use a second round receiver. Like that's just the way I view team building is like it's never a bad idea to draft a receiver in the second round. So that's typically why I'm drafting so many of those, I think. But where else do we want to go with them? I mean, you know what? I think I have an idea that's going to be a bit of a reach, but I'm going to do it anyways. Nero Farrell Jr. with the 113th overall grade, according to PFF, going at pick 55. People aren't going to love that one, but they could use an interior defensive lineman. I think he's good. I like him. I have him as, kind of a sleeper. I have him with a second round grade. So I actually have him as my 51st overall prospect. So him going here at 55, that's good value. Maybe there's some better, different ways we could have gone about that, but that's what I'm going to do there. Now for the Cowboys, I'm going to go Chad Muma here, just kind of to allow Micah Parsons to mostly go onto edge, where I think he's more valuable. He's kind of a better edge guy than he is off-ball linebacker. So going with that there. Number 57. So if the Bills, I felt like had we're in a position to get a luxury pick in the first round, they're certainly in that position in the second round. They got Sky Moore in round 1. So already had a pretty good offense, making that even better. I think he would be awesome in that scheme. So I would love that pick for them if that happened. But now what else do we do? And again, maybe you just take another luxury pick here. I think there's several ways you could go about this. You could go running back. It's not a terrible idea late in the first round if you're trying to be competitive now. Now, I guess the flip side is you have Josh Allen. You're going to be competitive for a while. Do you want to take kind of a move that isn't going to work well for a while kind of pick? If I were to go running back, I probably would go Breece Hall. It's a reach. It's definitively a reach. I'm not denying that whatsoever. But again, I see some logic behind making that move. And who else do you want to go after if you don't take him? The reality is, whatever you end up getting, it's probably not going to be as good as if you simply just, took that. If you get a running back, they're probably going to add more value this next year than anyone else. But the question is future years, and you're trying to be competitive for a while. So that's one option. The other option I'm kind of thinking about would just be like maybe just go after someone like a Daxton Hill, who, again, I'm not as high on as other people are. I don't even have a second round grade on him, but there is, upside with him. I guess I can see the logic there. Or even like, Kingsley Egnabear. I'm not sure how exactly I pronounce it, but he had really good production in college. I don't know if it'll translate in the NFL, but hey, that worked with Gregory Rousseau. Maybe you do a similar thing with Kingsley there. All right, I'll do it. I'll make all the people that only follow me for my analytics takes mad, and I will draft a running back in the second round. Breece Hall, I think, is the most complete back. McKissick is all right, but you're getting a definitive advantage at starters. So the one time I'm willing to draft running backs is if you're trying to be competitive now. That's what Buffalo is doing. And late second rounder, like, again, Breece Hall and Sky Moore, that's really going to help out this football team. It is. Maybe it won't help out them as much 4 years from now, but you'll draft someone else next year. It's okay. Number 58, the Atlanta Falcons, who, again, if we look back, did they have a second round pick? Why am I thinking they did? I don't think so. Their first round pick, or maybe they did. So George Karlaftis, number 8 overall. And then, they had another one, John Mechie. So they got wide receiver. They got an edge rusher. That's good, pretty good for them, actually. I think that's solid. And you know what I'm going to do here with the late second rounder? Give me Bailey Zappi. Again, you always want to have a plan B. Don't go into the season with just Marcus Mariota and nothing else at the quarterback position. Bailey Zappi, he's definitively not a top 5 quarterback in this draft, in my opinion, but I think he's interesting. So I think he's worth taking a late second round flyer on. Number 59. So again, the Packers have Justin Ross. They've added multiple receivers now. Justin Ross, Chris Olave, and they've also gotten the tackle, Trevor Penning. So their offense should be set. It's simply just what else do you want? And part of me feels like Daxton Hill really fits this team well. I think he would fit this offense well. I like that, or excuse me, he would fit the defense well. I would like that fit. So, okay, give me Daxton Hill at number 59, Tampa Bay at number 60. So we're getting down to it. They, of course, drafted Travis Jones. Is there an offensive lineman on the board that I would feel okay about? Maybe Kenyon Green here. I'll do that. I don't love Kenyon Green. I'm not sure if I would. Again, some people are going to say, oh, you have him wait to round 2 and then draft him to your favorite team. How convenient. Like, listen, there's better scenarios for me than Kenyon Green going at 60. I'd much rather Zion Johnson in the first, but still, for a late second round pick, a guy who has a chance to be a starter, I don't hate this whatsoever. I have him as my 64th overall prospect. He goes here at 60 on my list. Going on to the San Francisco 49ers, who they do not have, or do they have a first-round pick? I'm trying to remember. They do not have a first-round pick, if I remember correctly, in this year's draft. That's right, because they got rid of it with the Trey Lance trade. So, hey, if Trey Lance works out, you're not complaining about not having the pick. But with a second rounder, what could they do? They could still probably use a corner. Is there a corner that you would feel good about taking here? I don't know. Not really any of these guys. So probably not what you want to do there. What else do? You could go into your offensive line, another option on the table. They lost a guard in free agency, so picking up someone there. Again, I can see some logic behind, but I don't know. Again, there's not really a guard who I love here. So do I just go best player available and get like a safety, which I don't know if they need, but to me, that's what would give you the most value. There's some kind of a weird spot. I don't know exactly where to go with the 49ers, to be honest. You know what? The more I think about it, they could use a safety. Odom is currently their other guy behind Jimmy Ward, of course. I'll go safety. There's a couple safeties I like. Brian Cook and Kirby Joseph. I both have a very similar grade on, but I guess I'll go Kirby Joseph just because you can get Cook later on as well if you wanted to. So Kirby Joseph goes at 61 to the 49ers. Now the Kansas City Chiefs at 62, who again have Andrew Booth now. They have Trayvon Walker now. Did they get anyone else? Yes, Treylon Burks as well. So they got a wide receiver. They have an edge. They have a corner. Where else do we want to go? They still have some positions of need, but you feel pretty good about this if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. You're in a better spot at this point. And I don't know exactly where you want to go. And you know what? In fact, I know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to the safety well and get Brian Cook. I know it's another one of those, wait, you're having a top 100 pick go number 62. I like him. This is my mock draft. This isn't yours. So that's why I view that the way I do. Cincinnati Bengals, 63. So they're, again, kind of in a weird spot where they ended up going with Darian Kennard late in round 1, which is kind of a weird fit, but I want another offensive lineman. And then it's like, okay, what else does this team need? They're pretty good on offensive line outside of guard, which I addressed in round 1. I guess you could go with another corner. Is there another corner that you love in this spot? I don't know. There's not one that, for me personally, I love, but I do have a high third-round grade on Roger McCreary, so him going late second, that's fine. I'll go Roger McCreary here. And then 64, the Denver Broncos, who have one need, which is corner. Denver Broncos don't have a ton of draft capital, obviously, with with trading for Russell Wilson. They're okay with that. They're not complaining too much. Again, several different ways they could go about this. Their only need listed is corner on this, but I thought they could use an edge. Give me Boye Mafe to round out the second round. That is my first and second round selections. Grading your draft. On the first round, it didn't actually give grades, though, so I'm not sure if it's going to happen this time or not. Guess we'll wait and see. Yeah, still no actual grades, but this is round 1. Does it even show round 2? I guess not. So this is round 1, and this is what we have. Oh, no, here we go. Full results. Okay. Here we go. This is round 1. This is round 2. There were still a few guys who I had a top 64 grade on that just didn't end up making this list due to fit or whatever. So a couple guys I still liked, but it was more of a scheme fit thing. Again, I have a feeling this one's going to get some criticism, but that's part of the fun, right? That's why you do this, is because it starts the discussion. That's the only reason I do it. So let me know why you think my mock draft is stupid in the comments section below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.